As the title says, I don't know who needs to hear this. And if it's just one person that sees this, then that's good enough for me. Like, just watches this entire, or listens, at least listens to this entire video. A little update. I am working on a story time video. The process is slow because I have other things going on. But I really wanted to talk about this because this, I don't know if anyone believes in spirituality or anything like that. And I wanted to share this because I hope at least it changes at least one person's life. I just hope I don't get hate for any of this, but I just want to spread at least love and hope to someone, at least one person. Life currently obviously is hard, mostly with this pandemic that's really screwed over a lot of people's lives, and it's been devastating for all of us. And there are people going back and forth about who started this, who started that, this person's wrong, this person's right, yada yada, and I have my beliefs, but I'm not going to share them here. I'm just going to say a little something, like a little bit of hope for some people out there, and it's going to be kind of basic. I'm going to share like a Christian point of view, and also I guess a non like a agnostic atheist point of view. I created this channel mainly because I wanted to share my life stories to people, inspire them to just that things can be awful, but you still gotta love yourself. You still gotta keep your head up even when you just feel like you're gonna die at any moment. I've gone through a lot during the 23 years of my life. So I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm starting out school again to complete my degree. It's been a slow process, but it's been very crazy as well. Mainly because of the pandemic, and like my mom has had cancer. First time when I was in high school, the second time in 2019, and she's had other health issues in 2017, 2018, a lot of like other health problems, and it's been I was kind of forced to grow up pretty fast when I was 17. Really, really fast. And even before then too, but 17 was, I think, was the biggest push. But even before then, I went through a lot, and I obviously I have story times for those, but long story short, I was bullied a lot. I was really pushed around and really looked down upon a lot. And by adults, by children. I remember, so I used to be part of these pageants when I was very, very little. And I remember being taught how to count my calories at like 3 years old to not get fat. And I remember by the adults being angry around me that I wasn't smart enough to govern myself, to do things myself, because I was easily distracted. I mean, I'm diagnosed with like OCD. I'm worried a lot. I have anxiety, depression, all that stuff. And it was really crippling because I did not have a very bright early childhood. And with other toxic people around me, it did not help. And I know I may have mentioned, I know it's kind of seems out of topic that I'm mentioning, like I was forced to count calories at a young age, but recently I've relapsed into my eating disorder, and I know this seems a little bit dark and personal, but that's how I'm starting out right here. I know it's dark, and it's not easy for me. I was hesitating back and forth whether or not I wanted to make this video, but I know I needed to make this in order to at least help at least one person. At first I was losing weight, and this was in May May of this year. Um, at first, I was losing weight just fine regularly, but obviously it became obsessive and started losing it way too fast. So I stopped. I'm trying to recover again, but it's not too bad. It's not like really bad. I know how to. I still remember my techniques. It's not like I'm going to a type of rehab to control myself. I don't need it that. I didn't need it that badly, but anything like that, I can assure that I'm all right now. I used to be a bit more concerning when I was a teenager, but I'm able to do it better now. So yeah, so things that happen in the past or anything like can really affect us in the present. Now, my present today is very different from my past, and I can say that I'm a lot happier now than I was, 20 years ago or so. I'm not saying it's so bad. Everyone's life stories are very different. I'm not saying, oh, feel sorry for me, but here's the thing. I don't want anyone to jump to the conclusion, oh, poor you, or I no, absolutely not. When I was, everyone, I know everyone in the world has hated middle school. And if you like middle school, either you were a mean person or you just had no idea what was going on around you. And I'm not saying there's like anyone who had it good in middle school is a bad person. No, like I guess some 50-50 probably are bad. Some know that like they're good, but they don't know the reality, or they just haven't not mature enough to know what's going on. I think you know what I mean. I'm not trying to say all. I'm not trying to have that all or none thinking. I hope hopefully that's cleared up. But I've had some good experiences and bad experiences. It's just life. But I will live in a town that is quite toxic. Very, very toxic, and it got to the point that let's pretend my name is Rosie. Okay, so people say, "Hey, Rosie, why are you so negative? Why do you talk bad behind this school or this district or this teacher and all that?" And I'm not like mean or anything. I'm not like, oh, she's got that ugly haircut and she's like secretly sleeping behind her husband's back or that kind of no. I've never done anything like that. The thing is, sometimes I would be like, I was weird as a preteen. I was very strange. As a middle schooler, I was kind of like, I would make these animalistic sounds. Part of it being my bipolar, part of it being my selective mutism that would not have me able to communicate with words. And also, I'm kind of like dumb in a way. I don't know. I don't. I always had a hard time trying to communicate because I guess it was my anxiety. Who knows? That was different. Not too different, but I had some. I wasn't like crazy. There's a certain person I don't like. I just wouldn't. I usually have an intuitive. I know people are gonna cringe at this, but I do have a pretty strong intuition. And when I feel something going on or feel something that's wrong, usually I could tell. It wouldn't usually turn out well. And whether it be an organization, usually it's people because an organization is made by people. But people, if there's a certain group or certain type, not even a certain type, it doesn't have to be. If I feel something strange, then that's not good news. That's just not good news. And I never had a good liking towards my school or my town, basically. The town that I lived in was just very basic, very business obsessed. If you had a small business, you were better than anybody else, like a very successful small business. And I knew some people, there's like this type of, I'm not going to specifically say what type or anything, but a type of store where the owners, their child went to school with me. Their child wasn't too bad. I guess we were kind of friends, but we weren't close at all. We were just, I I guess, kind of buddies. Sometimes he would be mean to me in front of his friends, but only in front of his friends because his friends were like the quote unquote cool guys. But when they were like rare moments we'd be alone, he'd be like very friendly toward me. And, you know, people are weird like that. Um, my family would come shopping to their store. Like the parents, they would kind of be like laughing at us just because, like, well, my family's from Mexico, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, like woke liberal here. Like, no, absolutely not. But they would kind of make jokes about our culture, what we like to eat, and everything like that, and it was just obviously hurtful. Um, a couple years ago, when my mom came in, the owner would just make fun of like the idea, like, "Oh, do you have a business of your own?" And I think she was kind of making fun of it because like we would buy pretty often from them, and my mom would just be like, "Geez, what's your problem?" And just acted all smirky, like, "Oh, I'm just basically better than you. I can buy this boat for myself and blah blah blah." Kind of not really like straight up like that, but he would say like, "Oh, like I this business, I bought my family a nice boat, like a little yacht, like, you know, this little, not a yacht, but like a boat, a speedboat basically." Um, I don't know. And it'd be just like, well, I don't care. Be like, "Oh yeah, you do. You do care." Just smirk at him, smirk at her, basically. And it was kind of like basically the end. And I kind of went through experiences too. People would be like, "Oh, she's nothing important. Her family name is nothing important. I don't know who the heck she is." Blah blah blah. When I was in middle school, and high school was different. People were too busy doing their own thing, and people were like quote unquote more mature, even though they would do things sometimes behind their other people's backs. And that's kind of thing. Like high school, they kind of cake it up with makeup, making it look nice, but it's like it's not that much different. People just I remember a coworker of mine at my old job would say, "Oh, high school is just basically middle school. They're just better at hiding what they do than before because they just, I guess, grow up, quote unquote, grow up, not in a good way." Fortunately, things improved for me in high school. I gained a lot more friends, less bullying, but my last statement still stands. Some people don't want to change. People who are mean as kids, they're not mature. They end up remembering what you did back in, like, I don't know, second grade, and then they're just like, "Oh, remember you did this? You're such a dork." And it's like, it's not like, in a way, it's in a very humiliating, like, "Oh, I'm superior than you." And it's like a little imperfection that you make, or just because you're not rich or because whatever. And it'd be quite hurtful. And I'm not the only victim. The reason why I tend to tell these stories is not because for me. Yeah, it hurts me, but it's because there is more damage to other people, like my friends. People that have worse situations than what I go through, and they get treated far worse. And I can tell you that this isn't always about me. I can tell you that this isn't 100% about me. I know the world does not revolve around me, but there are people out there that have it worse, and they get treated worse by those very people, harassing them by their homes. And they don't even have enough to even get themselves good security or anything. They just humiliated for just really terrible reasons. And I know I had a situation recently where these people would make fun of me, but I don't feel too bad because, you know, people are people. I don't know, there's just some certain settlements where people are dumb just because they're like, "Oh, I don't understand why they can jump to the conclusion like, "Oh, you haven't changed since middle school." I guess like for really dumb reasons. They think I'm still like I don't know, I have the same interests or likes or flaws as I did when I was 12 years old than I am now at 23. So again, like for the reasons for me, it'd be like really dumb reasons, but those people, they're just like, they have no souls. I can assure you they do not have any souls. And I didn't take my problem too seriously because I have like other friends or not some peers, other peers that they, even if they're not my friends, they would have issues that they would face problems even worse, like from those people. And just straight up actual bullying, not just some like, oh, tee hee, let me just spit a spitball at you. No, like actual horrible psychopathic behavior that I have no idea how the heck they even get away with all that stuff. It amazes me how much no one cares to even stop very toxic behavior like that. And the only way to stop them is if someone with a much higher power them is able. And usually people, those kids and their families, I mean, even their families get involved. They're usually people that are just, they've never had a problem in their lives. They've always had everything given to them by onto their hands. Born with with a silver spoon or a silver shovel. It's that simple. And I'm not saying anyone who is, I can assure you 100%, not everyone who's rich is a bad person, period. And I can explain why later. I don't know how I'll end up. Maybe I'll end up in the streets. Maybe I'll end up same position as I am today, you know? Or who knows? Maybe I become richer than Jeff Bezos. I don't know what's going to happen. Life is unpredictable. So, I went through a lot, period. This year, as of this year, there was like, as I said before, I never had a really good vibe with my school, anything like that. There's just always something weird going on. I always felt like some fundings weren't funded properly, like certain things that were actually important, like nutrition or textbooks or other things that help with education amongst the school. And there were things that were like funded properly, I'm not gonna lie, but there are some things that just seem to be overfunded or too, just like I feel like there's unequalness when it comes to giving certain things, like certain money for the sake of the school, for the sake of the education. Education, jeez. I had a long day today. So I'm gonna try my very hardest not to expose where I live or anything like that, because it's for obvious reasons, but also because for other obvious reasons. So there was like a smoothie shop. I'm gonna call it a smoothie shop. Yeah, I can say that. That it was supposedly about nutrition. That's supposed to be like a health spot for buying smoothies, for like working out, fitness and all that, you know, for wellness. And there was an ad all over town, and I was like, hey, let's go there, you know, like this just seems cool, because I coincidentally enough am, you know, trying to get fit. So when I arrived, I was like, what the heck is going on? Because like the logo in that little shop, in the smoothie shop, was very similar to my school's logo, or the name, logo and name and everything. So it's like a play on words, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. And I was like, okay, that's kind of creative, kind of quirky, creative, but also like, okay. I don't know the intentions. Maybe they're trying to be cool. Maybe it was cringe. I don't know. So I just ignored that, but I was just like, okay, something's not right. Because why is the school trying to sell out here? And I didn't know why, because like before even coming in, I just immediately thought they're selling out. There's something going on. And so I went in and I saw the menu, and I saw there's this like weird shelf. A shelf filled with these protein powders, and the protein powders were like this one brand. I'm not going to name the name of the brand. I think people can research themselves what the brand is and what the backstory of it is about. But the protein powder is from a multi-level marketing organization. It basically, you can Google up MLM if you don't know about this one YouTube channel called the Illuminati, which is spelled in a different way. They're also known as MLMs for short. And what they do is a pyramid scheme where they recruit people to sell their products, to sell the big companies' products for an award in exchange. But there's like a kicker, like strings attached, because you have to recruit more people and you have to sell more products, and it's like kind of almost like enslavement basically, and supposedly it's illegal. I can't explain it very well, but I suggest looking it up. This protein powder thing, this protein powder brand has, and even that channel, the channel Illuminati, talks about that very specific protein powder, and I'm not gonna name it here, it's your choice to figure it out. But this protein powder has been known to cause cancer. Yeah, it causes cancer. And I don't know if you know this thing that people like to say, oh, usually people who are mean to you, they end up selling out to MLMs, being stupid enough to sell their products and never succeeding, and blah blah blah, you know. With this example, it ends up being true. So this very school basically sells out. They're suckers enough to sell this stuff, and even if they are successfully selling the smoothies, they're selling a product that causes cancer. That causes cancer. And I bet you're wondering, oh, like, I bet people know that, you know, not every person is supposed to take these protein shakes. And no, they literally say, like, any person at any age, at any health, it's basically like a cult mindset, you know, people selling, oh, this pill, like snake oil salesman, like this pill will cure autism, or, you know, cure blindness, and magically you're okay. Ooh, you're no longer poor, you're gonna be rich overnight, you know, that kind of thing. And it's basically like that, because all over the wall there's like pictures and the quotes being like, oh, this changed my life. At any age you can be obese, morbidly obese, or muscularly fit and still take this shake. You could be at any age, a young baby or a 99-year-old. They would have literally pictures of everyone of every age, shape, size, and just drinking this shake, and with any ingredients like banana, or, well, here's the thing, the ingredients, they say, oh, you can just, if you want to be skinnier, eat this fruity veggie one, if you want, like, but they have like the protein powder is like treated like this kind of culty thing, cult mindset. And they even have like pictures, a few pictures of these toddlers drinking it too, and it looks terrifying, like this baby thinking it's like a chocolate milk, you know, it's not. It's terrifying. Don't give your kids that stuff. I don't want to say any names. I don't want to say, because I don't want to get in trouble. I really don't. But yeah, it's scary. And then I put your little, like, why the heck is she talking about all this or anything like that? It goes to show that karma is a real thing. Karma is real. But you're like, oh, well, it's just like an organization. It's just like, you know, school. Why the heck are you saying all this and blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I went through a lot, but my mom, she has relatives that are pretty well off. And when this guy, this small owner business guy, and other business people would make fun of my family, my very parents, for not being successful, they don't know the backstories of my parents. I guess there's a Dar man moment here, but be like, oh, how dare you be racist towards me when my dad is literally the owner of Tesla, or, you know, I guess that kind of thing. But in all seriousness, it kind of comes down to this, basically. I'm not going to give out too much details, but my mom, a side of her family, is extremely well off. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. But the other part, my other side, my dad, basically my family name. Okay, so been made fun of and all that, saying, oh, that was a weird last name. Yeah, it's not really weird. It's not like, oh, like you can make a meme out of it or anything like that. I don't, you know, it's just like, it's not common, but it's kind of, you know, because I'm Hispanic. I do not have the typical I do not have a popular Hispanic name. That's basically it. People are like, oh, that's weird. Okay, it's not common. Then it's weird. It's not like Lopez or Gonzalez or Gomez or Vasquez or I don't know. People are very vain. Society is extremely vain. My dad has always really been proud of his parents. Um, Weird thing is, my dad has always been very attached to his mother, but he was also very proud of his father. My grandfather, my grandmother. I never knew my grandmother. I got to know a little bit of my grandfather before he passed, but supposedly my grandfather was a very interesting character. He was extremely growing up. Well, this was like I think he was born in the 1930s. That's my best guess. 30s, I think. But that times were very different back then, and my grandmother wasn't given much opportunity. This was Mexico. This was like a very misogynistic time. So I can't say much right here because that's like, I don't know. My grandfather definitely very sexist, treated women terribly and all that. But he treated me and the rest of his granddaughters specifically, well, I think. I don't know. He would say positive things to me and about me, and I guess I don't know. People change, I guess. I don't know. But what I can say was that I'm gonna say this in Spanish first and then translate it. Mi abuelito era bien tremendo, bien tremendo. My grandfather was very, very tremendous. In a way that when someone says to you, oh, tú eres bien tremendo, it could be in a way that's like, oh wow, they're kind of like badass, but in a very naughty way. So in a way, what they meant about my grandfather is that I probably have a bunch of half aunts and uncles out there. So yeah. Yeah, so much for being faithful. I don't know. So yeah, it's weird. I have a bunch of halves out there, and those halves for some reason end up being famous, okay? I'm gonna cut it to there. So, in December of 2020, one of my uncles passed away on New Year's Eve from COVID. And this was my oldest uncle. He was 70 years old, and he unfortunately died alone because during this pandemic, people weren't allowed to see their loved ones, and the restrictions in Mexico are far stricter than here in the U.S. I don't know where else my watchers are from, any other part of the world, but I live in the U.S. and it's very different to Mexico. And my uncle, he was a very successful man. He was an entrepreneur, real estate guy, and he ended up being a teacher for the rest of his life. But he also sold houses, owned properties, a lot of things. He was very successful, very, very, very successful. And he ended up getting a lot of his inheritance to his kids and to other family members, and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was kind of it, basically, about my uncle that passed. I have other uncles that ended up being very successful too, successful restaurants, and I've had I don't know if he's the only one that lived in Mexico, but the rest ended up living in Texas. And then they ended up having very extremely successful businesses in Texas. They ended up catering to business, and by business I mean restaurants. They ended up catering to celebrities. This includes celebrities such as Selena Quintanilla, the very singer who unfortunately got shot. My dad was actually physically assaulted by Yolanda Saldivar. Thanks a lot, Yolanda, you effing bitch. But no, she's a crazy woman. So I always felt really negative about me specifically. I always thought I was never good enough for anything. Never. I haven't had things really. I was mistreated a lot, basically. And I never knew much about my family, how well they were until later in life. And I guess when I was like 14 years old, my parents opened up more about the good things about my family instead of the bad. Because I'll be honest, when I met my one of my other uncles, I think my dad's the youngest of the brothers. There's one younger sister, but yeah, and they're pretty bad tempered, very. And when I mean they used to be successful, is that they let their egos go so big they ended up not being successful anymore, basically. So the rule of thumb here, people, is that when you let your emotions get in the way, your anger, your narcissism, it doesn't go well. But there's a happy ending to all this because I'm gonna be honest. I think some of it just became karma to those uncles because they were very cruel, very very cruel. Let me tell you, they were not nice to my parents. My dad being, I guess, the baby brother, very humiliated, underestimated a lot. Um, well, I guess one of the biggest successes is that my dad ended up quitting drinking permanently for so many years now, and those uncles are still drinking. So, yeah, don't make fun of my dad just because you think you're better. So, that's one of the great successes is when you get out of something really toxic. It's a really great thing, a great accomplishment you can make. So basically, those three uncles, yes, three uncles are not doing too well. I do have other family living in the state that I live in currently, but that's just like, I know this seems confusing, but for now I'll open up little by little more about my life, I guess. But I'm not gonna. I'm sorry if it's confusing, but I'll open up a bit more later on. So in that same month, 10 days before the death of that uncle that died of COVID in Mexico. Actually, okay, that's not very specific. So the oldest uncle, basically, the one that I knew existed around my life, that died of COVID. Basically, New Year's Eve. Yeah, New Year's Eve. 10 days before that, there was another person that passed away. Also from COVID. And they, he had a very similar, he was on the news, on the TV, everything. My dad heard it. My dad was shocked. He yelled. He was like, "What? Who? What? What is going on?" He was freaking out in a very weird way. And I was just like, what? So this man was known to be an advocate for the indigenous people in Mexico, in the south of Mexico. And he was helping as an assistant for the president of Mexico. Because the current president of Mexico is, they call him AMLO for short, but his full name is Andrés Manuel López Obrador. That's the name of the president of Mexico. And this man that passed away from COVID, he was a congressman of Mexico City, and as I said before, an advocate of the indigenous people. And he was assisting Obrador with the COVID situation to help find solution and deal with the problems with COVID in the nation of Mexico. And well, ended up, so long story short, he ended up having the same last name as, you know, my family. Same last name, and then we saw his face, his way of talking, everything, and I'm just like, holy crap, Dad, he looks exactly like you. He looked exactly like my dad. I'm just like, is he your brother? And I'm like, what? No. It was weird. He looked exactly like him. And I ended up being just like, okay, this is a weird ass coincidence. And I'm like, yeah. We're all like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's weird, okay. So my dad is a huge fan and supporter of that very president. I mean, politics aside, not me, okay. Politics aside, it's kind of weird that someone that my dad admired and this other guy, Walt's right out working with that president. And I same last name, looking the exact same like my dad, just like, you know. My family was curious to confirm if this was real, and we ended up giving, you know, DNA samples. And we wanted to be sure if, because it was just too freaky. And well, guess what? It is confirmed that I am very much related to that person, to that man. So he is my half uncle. A guy who has worked with president of Mexico to help the indigenous, the natives, and this pandemic that's happening. I'm like, wow, I'm related to a hero. I'm related to someone who was humble enough to do all of this, to sacrifice his life to help a nation. And it made me think, you know what? Who cares what these people, these narcissistic people thinking so much better too. Like, oh, you're not good enough. Well, guess what? Plot twist, I am. Why would you say these horrible things when you don't know? When you don't know when karma's gonna come back and bite you on the ass. And I couldn't be more proud. Me being just stomped on and told I wasn't good enough. Stomped on and told that my family wasn't good enough. Stomped on and told that I don't know what's going to happen in my future. Whether I'll become homeless or the same position in 20 years, or I make a change. Maybe I want to follow my passion. I don't consider myself extremely smart, but I know I'm extremely strong. And if I can go through what I went through in my life, I mean, and this is a short video, and I have other story times to tell, but if I can go through what I went through, so can you. Who is anyone to tell you that you are not worthy? Sure, maybe my family's a little weird. Maybe we're a little bit quote-unquote mental. But that madness is genius. It's genius. If I have a family member that can get up to there, imagine how much further we can go. Imagine how much further. And I wanted to really make this video. And I thought about it so strong, and I prayed to God. So I'm going to get to the Christian part here. So if anyone who doesn't believe in God, you know, you can listen and if you want, or you can just click off this video. I prayed to him. I was like, God, am I even worthy? So I work at a book warehouse. I store books, and I you know, there's like different, you know, book themed things that happen in the warehouse. So I there would be these really once in a while um, sales, and they would just bring in all these bookmarks, and I was praying to myself, and I asked God, am I even worth anything? And then I had someone give me a gift out of nowhere, a complete stranger, and it was a bookmark. And the bookmark had a little. Because I was very, very discouraged of whether or not I should follow my dreams. It was all kind of at the same time when I discovered I was related to that politician. I'm just wondering, hey, even though maybe I'm related to him, but do I even have the drive to be able to do something amazing? So I was given the bookmark, and there's like so many designs. There's like, like designs with animals, or with some that look like wallpaper, some that look like you could write on them, like notebooks. Some that were like magnetic. Some of them were like girly. Some of them had like little timers on them. I think you would see those in Barnes and Noble, kind of like those types. I was given this one just randomly, and I never told anyone about my thoughts or concerns or anything like that. It was just very random. This bookmark that I have in my hand, and it says, and I quote, "Believe in yourself. Believe in all you want to be. Don't let what other people say or do make you frown. Laugh as much as possible. Let in the good times and get through the bad. Be happy with who and where you are. You are in the right place, and your heart is leading you on the way to a great tomorrow. When circumstances seem difficult, pull through them. This will make you stronger than you think. The longer you practice the habit of working towards your dreams, the easier the journey will become. You were meant for great things. Learn as much as possible. Always follow your dreams." And it was like right after I prayed. At the same time, I obviously I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. When September 1st rolled around, because it took me 2 weeks to contemplate whether or not I wanted to make this video that I'm making right now. Because I was like, whether should I share it? And I think this is something that God wants me to share, but I don't know. I just hope things don't go wrong. But the last few days of August, I was in a very dark position, very dark moment. It got so dark to the point where I contemplated, you know what? I have a little calendar that my mom gifted me that gave like Bible quotes and all that, and it's each day, and I haven't used it for a while. I think the last time I used it was like early August, and I flipped through the calendar and I was like, oh, I can't believe I forgot. And this is like, I was like in a very dark moment. I was like, God, I'm sorry I haven't been a good Christian. I really need your help, and I know I don't think you're answering my prayers. That's what I was, saying to him. And I was like, God, I know I've done this over and over again. I just don't know if I want to continue to live. I don't know if I want to share my story to others because what if I end up failing? What if I fail? That's humiliating. If I don't succeed and I fail, that's humiliating. That proves nothing of what I wanted. September 1st, on that very calendar, you might change the quality of your days, but not the quantity. It was right. No matter how much I wanted to die, I wasn't the boss to tell myself that I wanted to die. I wasn't the one to control my life. Who am I to throw everything away after what I went through? My mission trip for nothing? My willing to strive for a better future for nothing? Sure, things are hard. Sure, it's gonna get harder. It'll be to the point where I don't even want to do this anymore. But as of recent events, be careful who you make fun of or mistreat, because it will definitely come back to you. It will. You don't know who this person really is or what they've gone through. And I never imagined my life would turn out like this, like ever. Not in a million years. And I feel like that has got to be the hardest hit towards every single person. Every single person who's done me wrong. And God doesn't play games or play jokes. I never imagined this. So I hope this helps somebody.